Let's start with one of the biggest races of the night. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx not running for a third term as Cook County State's Attorney. It comes after controversial issues like the end of cash bail and the Jussie Smollett case.
Two Democrats vying to be on the ballot come November. Attorney and University of Chicago professor Clayton Harris III facing former Judge Eileen O'Neill Burke. The winner will face Republican Bob Fioretti and Independent Andrew Charles Kopinski.
Both Harris and O'Neill Burke have picked up a variety of endorsements from current lawmakers and political groups. WGN's Jackie Bang and Sean Lewis are covering this race tonight. We're going to start with Sean at the O'Neill Burke campaign headquarters. Hey, Sean.
Hey there to you, Micah. You know those numbers are coming in. We have about 16,000 votes up right now for O'Neill Burke. And the party here, very happy about that. In fact, when we just showed those numbers, there's a big cheer in the crowd. Doesn't look like it behind me, but on either side of us, we have about 400 or 500 people here at the O'Neill Burke headquarters. Let's talk really quick with 34th Ward Alderman Bill Conway. Congratulations, by the way, because you also won committeeman for the 34th Ward Democratic Party.
Yeah, very, very exciting. I was on the ballot unopposed and no write-in candidate even, so I walked into the day very optimistic, and fortunately it paid off.
Alderman, when you're looking around here, I see a lot of people involved with retail, a lot of people involved with the restaurant industry in Chicago here at this party tonight. What is that saying to you when you're looking at these numbers and the turnout, low turnout in the city? But what are you making of these numbers?
Well, certainly there is cautious optimism here at Burke headquarters, but you know, I think what we're seeing is what we've seen in every poll that has been public for the last year, is the sense that public safety is what is the number one thing on voters' minds, and we're seeing that in the results tonight.
So they just showed the numbers again as we were talking about them. That's why you had the cheer here. When you're looking at what may lie ahead for Cook County, for the justice system within here, there's not a lot of difference between these two Democratic candidates, except for that threshold for felony charges for retail theft. And that seems to be what people are looking at.
Well, I do think that this indicates that voters really do want change. We saw in recent days that Clayton Harris had said he was seeking Kim Foxx's endorsement, and she had kind of given it to him here in recent times, and I think that hurt him, as voters here are looking for change. I think that a lot of people, myself included, will commend State's Attorney Foxx for her legacy on wrongful convictions, but at the end of the day, the State's Attorney's Office needs to be a voice for victims, and I think that's what's being shown in the polls tonight.
You ran against Kim Foxx 4 years ago in the primary. You lost that.
I'm well aware. Yes,
you are. But you're now an older person. You're on City Council. Do you see any difference and as someone who used to be an assistant state's attorney yourself, in how this office will change if Eileen O'Neill Burke is the new state's attorney?
Well, you know, I do think that office does need to be a voice for victims. I think that is the number one role of a state's attorney, and I think that she will invigorate that into her attorneys. And people join the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, is one of the most celebrated offices in America. And people go there to really become great trial lawyers, and I believe that she will bring that spirit with her long experience to that office.
All right, Alderman Bill Conway, thank you so much, Alderman.
Thanks
appreciate it.
Sean, as always.
So those numbers again, looking good here at Eileen O'Neill Burke camp. But there's still a lot of votes out there. Talked with the Board of Elections. They said that there's still 70,000 to 80,000 vote by mail ballots that are perhaps to be yet counted in the next few days. So they are not calling anything, but right now it's looking good. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Sean. Let's go to Jackie Bang, who's at Clayton Harris III's campaign headquarters. Jackie.
And their attitude is they're not giving up. It's not over yet. The supporters back behind me, there's a wall here, and on the other side are the supporters. They say it is not over yet. We are holding out hope. We took a little bit of video of the supporters earlier, and I'd say about an hour ago, there was absolute silence on that side. That's when the numbers started coming in, and the numbers were not positive for Clayton Harris III. There was about 30,000 vote difference. But as the night has progressed, they are a lot louder back there because they're a lot more hopeful. It is now down to 15,000 vote difference with 90 83% of the votes back. We talked to a couple of the campaign managers, and they said, we are holding steady. We have heard that the city alone still has about 20% of the votes out, and many of those votes that are out are from the South Side. The South Side is where Clayton Harris III lives, and he expects to have a lot of support there. So, again, they're not giving up. Whatever the case may be, Clayton Harris III is here. He is in a private room. He's watching the results here at Taste 222, but in a private room. I don't know if you heard that. There's a lot of laughter on the other side. He is with his wife, Trina. He is with his two sons, Clayton and Anderson. His mother and sister came in from out of town in the Northeast, and he is also with his pastor. So he is with a close-knit group. That is who will be coming out when the time comes. But the time is not now, and we still don't know if it's a concession speech or a winning speech. It's just too early to tell based on what they're seeing on the numbers right now. Back to you.
15,000 vote difference. Thank you, Jackie. Bob Fioretti is the lone Republican running for Cook County State's Attorney. He once served as alderman on the city council. He's run for state's attorney, state senate, Chicago mayor, Cook County board president, all on the Democratic ticket. He switched parties in 2022. The lawyer turned perennial candidate says neither of his potential opponents are tough enough on crime.
If they're minors, if they're juveniles, we're going to look at their parents. What have their parents been doing? Where's the accountability? If there's a way to charge parents under any of the acts or failure, then let's bring them in too.
Andrew Charles Kopinski is also running for the seat as a libertarian.